Welcome to another Traveler's Guide to China video, and this time we're going to Beijing. Beijing is the capital city of China. It's the second largest city and it's home to 22 million people, which is more than Norway, Finland and Sweden combined. So it's a very large city. When you arrive in Beijing, you will probably arrive in one of the two major airports, both of which have good links to the city's subway. And here you can see the subway has many lines. So as I go through the video, I'm going to introduce some different places in Beijing to visit, and we'll be looking at subway lines that are and the stations that are closest. The subway can get quite busy in China though, like in this picture. However, it is very cheap and convenient and it goes to many places. Or you might arrive at the train station. This is Beijing train station and Beijing West. Okay, let's start right in the center of Beijing at Tiananmen Square. Very famous square, and as I said, it's right in the center of the city. To get here, you can take line 1 of the subway to Tiananmen Shi or Tiananmen Dong, which is west and east. You can see the flag there in the picture. If you want to get down there early, they have a flag raising ceremony every morning. Or you can go along in the evening and see all the lights. There's main Tiananmen Square. All the flags and buildings. This is the Mao Zedong Mausoleum. So you will often see long queues of Chinese people waiting to see the body of Mao Zedong in this mausoleum in the middle of Tiananmen Square. At the bottom, of the south end, there's Tiananmen, so you could take the subway there and then walk up through Tiananmen Square. And there are lots of large famous buildings around the outside of the square, including the National Museum and the People's Place. Then at the north end, there is Tiananmen itself, which is the entrance to the Forbidden City. So next, and at night time, next on the list is the Forbidden City. So we go through Tiananmen Gate and then into the Forbidden City. There are many different areas to it, different parts. And inside there's a museum as well, so it's also known as the Palace Museum. You can see lots of ancient artifacts like these vases and crockery, and there are statues throughout, like this bronze crane statue that you can see. And then out the north end, and there is the waterway all around the Forbidden City. Next, we're going to the Temple of Heaven, or Tiantan, as it's known in Chinese, and you can get there with line 5 of the subway, Tiantan Dongmen. There's an N missing there. Right. So the Temple of Heaven is another famous building, an iconic building, great for photos, but it's also part of a much larger park with many different buildings, including the Harvest Building. And here we have the Whispering Wall. It's said that if you whisper at one side of the wall, the curved shape carries your voice all the way around and you can hear it on the opposite side. Although you'd have to make sure there weren't any other people around, which is unlikely. Next, we're going to the Summer Palace. This is probably my favourite place in Beijing. So it's another large park with a series of buildings, such as here. You can take line 4 of the subway to Beigongmen. It's quite a long way from the city centre, but it's worth the journey. Climb up the steps past all these old buildings, or you can come in the other gate, and lots of famous buildings to see. I went during the winter once, and this lake had frozen over. There's some old boats to see as well, and then this famous walkway with the wooden struts and all the paintings that you walk along. The Summer Palace is also home to this 17-arch bridge, which is another famous landmark. You can take a boat trip around the lake to get more views of the bridge. Next, we're going to the Olympic Park. You can take line 8 and either get off at Olympic Park or Olympic Sports Centre. It's a good idea to get off at one of them and walk to the other. Or if you're coming from line 15, you can go to Olympic Park. Here we can see the Bird's Nest Stadium, which was built for the Olympic Games in 2008. And it's now host to concerts and sporting events. And opposite the Bird's Nest, we have the Water Cube, which was the site of the swimming competitions at the 2008 Olympics. And it's now also a swimming pool that people can use. There's a mascot from Beijing 2008. Next we have the Lama Temple, which is Yonghe in Chinese. And you can take line 2 or line 5 to Yonghe station to visit the Lama Temple. There's the entrance. And inside there are lots of different areas and buildings to see, and the trees. The smell of the temple is also very distinctive. People burning joss sticks. There is a very large statue in there which holds a Guinness World Record. And you can see the different areas inside and different artifacts outside. And right next door, oh yes, there are often school trips there, learning about the history. Right next door is the Confucius Temple, so you can visit both of them at the same stop, and there's a statue of Confucius in the Confucius Temple next to the Lama Temple. Next we have Beihai Park, and you can get to this on line 6 of the subway, and the best stop is Beihai Bay. And this white tower is a very famous, iconic building in the middle of Beihai Park. But you can also see different pagodas and different islands. There's a lovely walkway around the outside and go through a number of gates. And you can also see people writing in Chinese on the ground, just writing with water and a very large paintbrush there. And just north of Beihai Park, there are some other waterways that you can explore. These come alive at night time, and they have a whole range of bars and restaurants there, and you can take boat trips at night and enjoy the lights. Lovely place for a walk. Also gets very busy though, and you can enjoy some live music. Next, I would recommend Peking University. Here we can see a lake and the large central building of the university. It's a lovely place to go for a walk around and see all the different buildings and landscape. You can go to line 4 and get off at the east gate of Peking University stop. Beijing Zoo is also on line 4. And this is a great place to visit. It's quite spacious and has a good range of animals. And the star attraction, of course, is the panda, or the pandas, which you can visit. It's not too expensive to get into the zoo, although you do need an extra ticket to visit the panda enclosure. And you can also enjoy monkeys and this goat up a tree. Sanlitun is a newer area of the city, which is known for its shops and bars and restaurants, very modern. And you can take line 10 and get off at Tuanjiehu. If you want to visit Sanlitun, feels like a different city, really, because it's much more modern. Now, no visit to Beijing would be complete without going to the Great Wall. The Great Wall is not in Beijing, but it's a short journey away. You can take the high-speed train from Qinghe Station, or take bus 877. It might take about an hour to get there from the centre of Beijing, and the first area that I visited was Badaling, which is a very popular area. You can see the Great Wall there, going off over the hills into the distance. Public holidays, it gets very busy there, but if you can go another time, you can get quite a clear area. Or you might choose to go to Mutianyu. This is a bit more difficult to get to. You might want to take a taxi, or you can take the tourist bus that goes to Mutianyu. I went there in the summer. There are cable cars that you can take, and again, just the sights of the Great Wall disappearing over the mountains. It's quite incredible. Some parts of the wall are much busier than other parts, and there are areas you can rest and get some shade. But this is really an iconic part of China that you've got to visit if you're in Beijing. Next, we're going to the Bell Tower and the Drum Tower. Both of these are together at opposite sides of a little square, and if you take line 8 to Shichahai, you can see both of those. This is the Bell Tower first of all, and here is the Drum Tower. You can get one ticket inside the Drum Tower that will take you to both of them. There's usually some things going on in the square between them as well, and displays, so at night time they're quite nicely lit up as well. So to go up the Drum Tower, there are these very steep steps that you climb up, and then you can see all the drums at the top. And every so often throughout the day, people will come and play those drums, so you get a performance included in the price of your ticket. Then across the square to the Bell Tower, also looking good at night, and there is the bell itself. Next, we have the ancient observatory, and this is on the old city wall. You can take line 1 or 2 to Jianguomen, and here we can see some of the different instruments used in the observatory. So obviously, in ancient times, the Chinese were one of the first to observe space and map the universe, and these are some of the instruments they used to do it. Very interesting place. This was very quiet. There were not many people there at all, but it was nice to walk around, and there's a museum as well. And here is an ancient clock that a sundial, if you like, using the shadow to tell the time. Now, Beijing is famous for its Hutongs, which are very narrow streets, ancient streets, which hark back to an old style of living in Beijing. Here we can, they're all around the city, but you could take line 8 to Shichahai, or maybe line 2 to Tiananmen, and there are Hutongs in those areas that are quite popular. They have become a bit fashionable as well, so there are bars, and this is a youth hostel in a Hutong. And the food, of course, when you go to Beijing, must try the food. These are a local speciality, these noodles, with a soybean paste and carrot and cucumber. You mix it all up. Or the world famous Peking duck. Peking is the old name for Beijing. Served with pancakes, spring onion, cucumber, and hoisin sauce. You can watch the chefs carving the duck, so it's not shredded like we have in the UK, but it's more sliced. Very juicy. Fried rice, of course. Here it was served in the shape of a fish. You can get a whole range of different dishes to try, including these beef noodle soup. And some prawns there. Or this stew. And here's a man carving a watermelon. There are other famous sights you can see around the city, like this red statue. You see these big red statues in many of the cities, all different shapes. Or just walking along, you might happen across a temple that you can go in and have a look around. Here we're visiting the Temple of the Sun Park. Unfortunately, it was not a sunny day, but lots of things to see and live entertainment to enjoy in the restaurants. So overall, I would thoroughly recommend a visit to Beijing and just some of the sights that you can see. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and come back for some more later.